The boy is 17 years old, and he is watching his world end. He stands on a riverbank in northern Italy, and everywhere he looks, Romans are dying. Hannibal has done it again. The greatest general the enemy has ever produced has trapped another Roman army, and is destroying it piece by piece. The boy's own father, a Roman commander, is somewhere in that chaos, bleeding, surrounded, about to be killed. So the boy does something insane. He kicks his horse forward, alone, and charges directly into the enemy to save his father. And he succeeds. That boy will grow up to become the only man who ever beat Hannibal, but first, he will have to survive the worst day in Roman history. What happened to him? This is the ancient history documentary of Scipio Africanus, the Roman general who never lost a single battle in his entire life, and the one catastrophic day that haunted him until the end of it. Today you'll discover how a man who watched Rome's greatest defeat turned around and used Hannibal's own genius against him. But there is a mystery at the heart of this story, because the day Scipio finally faced Hannibal, the greatest commander alive made a mistake, and historians still cannot fully agree on why. We will get there. To understand Scipio, you have to understand the wound. The year is 216 BC. Scipio is around 19 years old, a young officer in the Roman army, when Rome marches out to destroy Hannibal once and for all at a place called Cannae. Rome assembles the largest army it has ever fielded, around 86,000 men. Hannibal has barely half that. It does not matter. By the end of that single afternoon, somewhere between 50,000 and 70,000 Romans are dead. Hannibal surrounded the entire Roman army and annihilated it. It remains to this day one of the deadliest single days of combat in human history. Scipio survives, one of the few officers to escape the slaughter. He watches friends, commanders, an entire generation of Romans die in a few hours. And here is what that day does to him. While other survivors talk about fleeing Italy, abandoning Rome entirely, Scipio reportedly draws his sword and forces the other young officers to swear an oath that they will never abandon the Republic. At 19, standing in the wreckage of the worst defeat in Roman history, he does not just survive Cannae, he studies it. He spends years asking the question nobody else wants to ask. How did Hannibal do it? What made him unbeatable? And slowly Scipio begins to understand something that will change everything. He realizes that to beat Hannibal, he cannot fight like a Roman. He has to fight like Hannibal. But there is a problem. Hannibal is still in Italy, undefeated, and the Roman Senate does not trust this young man with his strange new ideas. Scipio's rise is not slow. It is explosive. He is given command in Spain, Hannibal's family power base, the source of Carthaginian silver and soldiers. It is considered a near impossible assignment. The previous Roman commanders there, including Scipio's own father and uncle, were both killed. Scipio arrives and does the unthinkable. He targets the enemy capital in Spain, a city called New Carthage, and he takes it in a single day with a daring assault that no one saw coming, including wading troops through a lagoon at low tide to attack a wall the defenders thought was unreachable. He has learned Hannibal's most important lesson. Do the thing the enemy believes is impossible. Within a few years, he has driven Carthage out of Spain entirely. He has never lost a battle. The Roman soldiers begin to believe he is touched by the gods, that he has divine visions. Scipio does nothing to discourage this. He understands something modern leaders understand. Belief is a weapon. But Scipio is not interested in Spain. He has a far more dangerous idea. He goes to the Roman Senate and proposes something audacious. Stop chasing Hannibal around Italy. Instead, invade Carthage itself, attack their homeland, force Hannibal to leave Italy and come home to defend his own city. The Senate is horrified. The old senators think it is reckless, arrogant, suicidal. One of the most respected men in Rome openly opposes him. Scipio gets his way anyway. He sails for Africa, and it works. As his army threatens Carthage directly, the Carthaginians send a desperate message across the sea to the one man who can save them. Come home, Hannibal. Come home now. After 16 years in Italy, undefeated, unconquered, Hannibal turns around and sails back to Africa to face a Roman general he has never met. The two greatest minds of the ancient world are about to stand on the same battlefield. The night before the battle, something extraordinary happens. Scipio and Hannibal meet, in person, alone, except for interpreters. The two commanders who have shaped each other's entire lives, one through admiration, one through study, stand face to face and talk. Hannibal, the older man, offers peace terms. Scipio refuses. There is nothing left to say. They return to their armies. Dawn, the Battle of Zama, 202 BC. Hannibal has a weapon Scipio has never faced. 80 war elephants lined up across the front, ready to charge and shatter the Roman line. But Scipio has studied Hannibal his entire life. He knows how the man thinks. So, when the elephants charge, the Romans do not hold a solid line for them to smash. Instead, Scipio has arranged his men in columns with deliberate lanes between them, and he orders his soldiers to blow horns and trumpets as loud as they can. The terrified elephants, panicking at the noise, stampede straight down the empty lanes, doing almost no damage. Some even turn and trample Hannibal's own men. Hannibal's greatest weapon, neutralized in minutes. Here is the mystery. Hannibal, the man who never made mistakes, lined his elephants up in exactly the way Scipio could exploit. Why? Some historians believe his army was too new, too poorly trained. Others believe Scipio simply outthought the master. We may never know. The battle becomes a brutal slugging match. And then Scipio plays his final card. His cavalry, which had chased Hannibal's horsemen off the field, returns and smashes into the back of Hannibal's army. The exact same trap Hannibal used at Cannae, the encirclement, turned against its own inventor. Hannibal is defeated, for the first and only time in his life. The payoff is enormous. Zama ends the war. Carthage surrenders. Rome becomes the dominant power of the entire Mediterranean world, the beginning of the empire that will shape the next 600 years of human history. And Scipio is given a new name, an honorary title that he will carry forever. Africanus, conqueror of Africa. He never loses a battle, not one. In an entire career of war against the most dangerous enemy Rome ever faced, Scipio Africanus retires undefeated. But here is the detail almost no one tells you. Scipio and Hannibal met one more time, years later, in peacetime. According to the ancient sources, Scipio asked Hannibal who he considered the greatest general of all time. Hannibal named Alexander the Great first, then Pyrrhus, then himself. Scipio, amused, asked, "And where would you rank yourself if you had beaten me?" Hannibal replied that in that case, he would place himself above Alexander, above everyone. It was, in its strange way, the highest compliment Hannibal could give. He was saying, "Only you, Scipio, ever beat me." And both men knew it. Their endings are tragic. Rome grew suspicious of Scipio's fame and power and pushed him out of public life. He died bitter, in self-imposed exile, reportedly asking that his body not even be returned to the ungrateful city he had saved. Hannibal, hunted by Rome for the rest of his life, eventually took poison rather than be captured. Two men, bound together forever. The only one who ever beat Hannibal, and the only one Hannibal ever truly respected. Remember that 17-year-old boy at the start, charging alone into the enemy to save his dying father? That reckless courage never left him. But Cannae taught him something charge-first courage could not, that to beat a genius, you have to understand him better than he understands himself. The boy who saved his father grew into the only man who ever made Hannibal taste defeat. And he did it not with bravery, but with everything he learned from the worst day of his life. Here is the question I want you to drop in the comments. If Hannibal had never been recalled to Africa, if he had stayed in Italy undefeated forever, does Rome ever become an empire? Or was Scipio the one man who made it all possible? Tell me below. I read every single one. And if you want to see the disaster that forged Scipio, the day 86,000 Romans walked into Hannibal's perfect trap, that video is already waiting on the channel, the Battle of Cannae. Go watch how the nightmare began. See you there.